My 30 spouse 35 has been acting incredibly strange. Do I need to help him or do I need to escape? My 30 spouse 35 has been acting incredibly strange. Do I need to help him or do I need to escape? July 14th, 2024. Sorry about formatting. I'm on mobile and I'm really shaken up as I write this. My 30 spouse 35 has been experiencing behavior that has only become increasingly concerning. In the past 2 months now, he has been talking about things that he claims are happening but he's never mentioned before. As some background info, when his behavior first started getting concerning, I managed to convince him to go to the hospital to get checked out for his mental health. He wasn't even seen by a doctor and he was told he just needs to take a certain medicine to help him sleep. The issue is he also smokes weed, so this medicine does not mix well with that. He won't quit smoking. We also have 2 very young kids. Back to the weird recent behavior. He claims he had an old email with an inheritance that got hacked and he needs access to it. I tried helping him get on it, but he hasn't used it in literally the 12 years we've been together. I only knew of its existence previously when I helped him switch his Facebook login, and that was an email attached. Another example is that he believes everyone is talking about him to me and everyone else. I mean literally everyone else. He thinks there's some sort big thing planned to hurt him or do something horrible to him soon and that we're all on it. On a few other separate occasions, he's asked about a show that we're on and asked how much money I'm being paid to keep a secret. He also thinks I'm having secret phone calls and that I've apparently left the room to accept these calls, which then results in me coming back crying about something I've apparently discussed on the phone. Whenever I try to explain to him that none of this is happening, he fights back saying that I'm just lying to him and to tell him the truth. That I need to tell him the truth or something bad is going to happen. It's gotten so bad, he ended up getting fired from his job because he was barely showing up. He kept going to the cop station to make a report instead of going to work. After he got fired, there was some sort of tense situation where they ended up calling a wellness check for him because they were afraid he's going to come back and hurt someone. The cops showed up while I was also home and he said he wouldn't hurt someone. He only acts in defense. In the recent weeks, he's gone from screaming at me demanding answers to just not talking to me at all. At this point, I'd rather he just not interact with me. The reason I'm writing this is because of what happened today. It was a nice day out and I asked if he would come with me for a walk with our kids, to which he agreed to. He barely spoke a word to me or the kids on this walk, and when we came across a playground, I asked if we should take the kids there for a few minutes of play. He then got upset at me for suggesting it and said I always control everything, and I'm the queen of the decisions. I didn't even tell him we were doing that. I just asked. When I mentioned this, he just said do whatever you want, like always, so I figured why not. So I played with the kids at the playground and he did his own thing. Someone left a couple various balls there and he was throwing them around. He then picked up the football and threw it in my direction. It flew past me a couple feet from me. I asked why he did that and he said, "Why are you upset? It didn't hit you," to which I responded, "Well, what if it did?" He then said, "If I wanted it to hit you in the head, I would have thrown it that way." Then he started on a rant about how he's going through the same thing with everyone lying to him. After which he sat her down in the corner of the park and was doing literally nothing. I was getting upset, so I packed up the kids and started walking to leave the park. I said to him we're going home and started walking away. Apparently he tried to yell out to us, but ended up taking a different way home than we did. He told me this when he met me on the street when we were almost home, saying that next time I want to be an idiot and walk away, maybe stop and listen for him calling out. I didn't hear him, but honestly he could have easily caught up to us. I was getting more and more upset and said I wanted to go for a drive to get coffee and he said fine. I said I wanted to take the kids and he asked why. Then I said fine, you stay home with them, and he said no, they can go with you, and started putting them in the car. I got in the car, and he got in the passenger seat, to which I asked him if he's coming with. He said yes and to drive. I told him I didn't want him coming with, because he's being mean, and he said he could be a lot meaner. As I started driving away, he kept going off on the usual BS he's been talking about lately, and I told him I don't want to hear it. He started screaming at me to keep driving and shut the fuck up. I stopped the car and told him to get out, and he made a motion like he was going to punch me but punched his hand in front of my face. At this point, I started crying and yelling at him to get out, and he yelled back, "No, just drive." I then said I should just drive him to the police station for that, and he said he would choke me unconscious before we even got there. I was crying even more at this point, and said I don't want to be with him anymore, and I want him out. He said no. He continued to be a dick for the rest of the car ride, where I pleaded with him to not treat me this way, especially in front of our children. It's not fair to them, or to me. He said to not bring them into this. I said how couldn't I? They are literally in the car. Anyway, after I drove us home, he asked how long I've been waiting to break up with him, and who I'm replacing him with. I told him I haven't been and there's no one else, which of course he doesn't believe. When he got inside, he even taunted me saying I should take you to the cop station in a girly voice. He's outside smoking, and I'm inside with the kids writing this. Of course I'm shook up currently, but I don't know what to do. We only have the one vehicle which is in both our names. The place we rent is actually my mom's, so we don't have a lease, but we both have our addresses attached to this place on our licenses. He wasn't always like this. Literally only the past couple months his behavior has been this bad. I miss the person he used to be. I miss that he would spend time with me, with the kids, but he spends all his time by himself now. I don't know if he's going through some sort of manic episode or what's triggering this change in behavior, but I really don't know what to do. Is there something differently I can do to help him? Every time he talks to me about whatever situation, he doesn't accept any answer I say and also won't accept if I say nothing. Edit, I just wanted to update and let you all know we are safe. I'm sorry for not saying anything sooner. I'm a bit overwhelmed with how popular this post got and will give an actual update later. Thank you for the advice and comments as well. I will mention a couple things. We are not in the US. Where we are, marijuana is legal, so my spouse does get it from government-run dispensaries. I don't think there's a chance his stuff gets laced aside from the fact he mixes cigarettes with it. A lot of people mention meth. There is just no way. He doesn't go anywhere random. He doesn't talk to people outside of our household aside from the few times he would go to the police station. I have his location on his phone, so I can see where he goes when he leaves. Relevant comments. Commenter. Greater than I just want to say, I was that terrified kid in the backseat. Absolutely traumatizing. My mom always came up with an excuse as to why we couldn't leave the house or leave dad. Made me suffer for many years of my life, and I'm 28 years old, trying to deal with the trauma it has given me. Please stop making excuses and leave. Get out for the kids. My mom never did and it truly has ruined my mental health. Commenter. Greater than wow, this is way more urgent than everyone seems to be acting. Are you able to sneak yourself and your kids out right now while he's smoking? You could start by going to the police station and telling them what's going on. They should hopefully be able to connect you to resources for families fleeing domestic abuse. If you have someone you can stay with, then that makes it easier, but either way do not spend another night in that house with him and definitely don't let your kids around him unsupervised. If you can't sneak out, I would call 911. Tell them what just happened and about his threats, and that you need to get out, but that you are afraid for you and your children's safety. They are not always the most helpful, but something needs to happen. At least then if he comes back in and tries to do something to you, you'll be in the phone with them, and they can send someone then. Might be a good strategy while you're leaving too if you're worried he might catch you. Greater than it sounds like he's having some kind of psychological break. The paranoia and being convinced everyone is part of some conspiracy against him is not abnormal there. But he has clearly told you that he is a danger to you, so you need to worry about that first. Get yourself and your kids to safety and figure the rest out after that. Once it's time to deal with him and his situation, depending on where you are, getting him involuntarily detained for psychiatric treatment requires proving he's a danger to himself or others. So at least you can show how he's threatened you, but worry about that after you and your kids are safely away from him. Commenter. Greater than heavy cannabis use can trigger the onset of schizophrenia in people who are already susceptible. Your age is right about the age where this tends to happen in men. I am not a doctor, but I really think this is a mental health emergency, either due to a drug interaction, drug use itself, or because he is rapidly developing a psychotic disorder. Greater than you need to see a mental health professional, not there, and describe all of this behavior to them, including the frequency of his marijuana use. Greater than that's the thing. He saw a crisis nurse at the hospital, and a therapist divided by social worker there, and I felt like the only thing they tried to do was get him to take a specific medication. I think it's called quetiapine or something, but anyway, I don't think he is regularly taking it, and if he is, he definitely shouldn't be mixing it with smoking weed. Commenter. Greater than that's the generic for Seroquel, which is actually an antipsychotic medication, used for schizophrenia and bipolar I episodes. That makes way more sense to be prescribed than a sleeping pill. You're right though, he needs to be taking it, as RX bottle should have the dosing on it. I looked up the drug interactions, and the ones listed are moderate and mostly physical. Although generally people with any kind of psychotic disorder, I think, are not supposed to use marijuana. Commenter. Greater than just call the police for assistance to leave. If you have somewhere to go, it's that easy. I've done it. He'll put a good front on, but you need to tell them you are in fear of your life, because he'll threaten you, strangle you. You can't wallow and be a scary baby. Not in front of your kids. He traumatized them enough. You can also have him removed for the threats on your life, and you can change locks. Do not let another day pass in this. Update July 20th, 2024. Hello, first of all thank you all for the comments, messages, and so on my previous post. Obviously it got a bit too much to keep up with responding, but I just want to say I really appreciate the help. ATL, doctor at the bottom. To give an update, I left the house the night I made the post, but went back home the following day. I wanted to be able to collect some sort of evidence I could use, because my spouse has been really good at downplaying his symptoms to any authority figure. I want to mention that I had been present at most doctor and hospital visits prior, so I know what they did recommend for him. I felt at the time that they did not give him enough help for the crisis he was obviously going through. Anyway, continuing on, the couple days after the Sunday post, he did not really engage in much conversation with me or our children. Every time he entered the room, I set my phone to record. I did not get anything until Thursday, when he finally started talking to me again. He was questioning who I have been talking to about him and who has been trying to sabotage his life. Obviously I denied everything, because there is no one talking to me about him aside from this Reddit post, which he didn't know about. This started to anger him, which included him yelling at me and saying if anyone is talking to me about him, to bring him to the house so he can take care of them himself. I tried to not to engage anymore. This made him more upset, as he was continuing to demand answers from me. He would then say, "Oh, I want to hit you," or "Don't make me slap you," when I was either not answering or just saying I didn't know what he was talking about. I got this on recording. After he ended up walking away and leaving the room, I took the kids to bed, locked us in our room and tried to sleep. The following morning, he insisted on driving me to work. I told him I wanted the car, to which he disagreed with me and said he needed it. After dropping our kids off, he started going off on me about how I am stupidity, dumb, a bitch, and so on, for keeping his inheritance against something he is clearly having delusions about from him. I tried to disengage completely, keeping myself too far side of the passenger seat, which caused him to grab me by the back of my neck and pull me closer to him, where he told me to listen to him. I obviously reacted to this and was super upset, telling him to please focus on driving and not touch me again. After he drove me to work, the last thing I said to him, as he was still going off on me with the car window open, was, "You desperately need help?" Once I got in, I called my boss and let her know what happened. She came in, canceled her appointments for the day, and took me to the police station. We made a report, although the sergeant we initially spoke to seemed to be against us making a report. He kept saying he will be homeless if I report him, like he's the victim in the scenario. I told him my safety and the kids' safety should be more important, and he brought in a different officers to make the statement with me. Once I completed that statement, they let me know to stay away from the house as they were going to arrest him, and will call once he's out of the house. About 5 hours later, he was arrested. Apparently he was very compliant, and with all the information I provided, they actually took him to the hospital, and he is currently on a 30-day psychiatric hold. He will be going to court at some point for uttering threats and assault, but seeing how he doesn't have a criminal record, I'm sure it will just end up being a slap on the wrist. So as of now, I am home, safe with the children, and we are getting our locks changed. I will also most likely get a protection order, but in an ideal world, he gets better and that's not necessary. I guess we will see in the future. I want to again thank everyone for their comments and assistance. A lot of you made some excellent points, and although I know some of my decisions probably seemed like dumb ones, I was trying to figure out the best solution logistically for us. Any other future updates will be on my profile. TL, doctor, he was arrested yesterday and put on a psych hold. I'm okay physically but not emotionally. Relevant comments. Commenter. Greater than I swear to God, fuck the police and that sergeant trying to talk you out of it. Gee, I really wonder why she doesn't go to the police. What a mystery. Greater than good luck op. Commenter. Greater than I dealt with something similar, but thankfully not with a romantic partner, and we shared no assets or children. It was terrifying, and I still am affected by it daily. Greater than my friend ended up being diagnosed as schizoaffective disorder, paranoid schizophrenia. He did really well on meds, actually, so well that he stopped believing he had an issue and stopped taking the meds. His latest bout of mania legitimately scared me, and I had to remove myself. Greater than your husband is starting a very long road, and a lot of mentally ill people struggle with keeping straight down that long road. I'm not saying you should remove him from your life, but I am saying you have the best chance of healing and raising unaffected adults if you do remove him. Your love for him and the family you've built cannot sustain mental illness, and love is not all you need. Sometimes it becomes way bigger than you, and the kindest thing you can do is bow out. Greater than I'm really sorry you're all in this situation. Commenter. Greater than paranoid schizophrenia runs in my family. The problem with your husband is that he's already become more violent, and it will likely get worse if you let him return to the home. I have seen family members get better on medication, only to make the decision to stop medicating BC. They no longer believed they were ill, over and over and over. I have also seen them act normally in front of others, which made it difficult to even get them help in the first place. Greater than one of my family members attempted to murder their caregivers. They almost succeeded. Greater than another attempted to murder a person they thought was real, but who was actually a hallucination. Greater than you are not safe. Your children are not safe, and you are not taking this seriously enough. Commenter. Greater than I'm very proud of you for taking the first step towards a new healthy life for your kids and yourself. To continue on this path, you need to quit hoping for the best and start preparing for the worst. It's a long road, but you've shown the intelligence and fortitude to successfully see this through. Greater than that being said, I'm going to have to stress to you that he's not going to get better in 30 days. Greater than get that restraining order ASAP. One reason is he will be served while in custody, instead of you having to track him down to serve him. Second reason, they look at how quickly you do these things when he goes to court for the charge. It shows you are actually going to follow through in the seriousness of your situation. Third reason is, he is more likely to be charged for DV and threats. Fourth reason is, it will usually make custody and separation move faster. Greater than this is one of those situations where shit in one hand and hope he miraculously becomes mentally healthy in 30 days in the other, which fills up quicker. Greater than good luck and don't stray from your path to safety and happiness. Greater than thank you. It's definitely wishful thinking that he will get the treatment needed to go back to normal. I don't want to think of this as the end of our relationship, but at the same time I don't know if he would want to be back with me since I got him detained. Greater than right now, the only thing I'm thinking about are the kids. Commenter. Greater than make sure as soon as the protection order is in place to let the school know that he isn't allowed to take the kids out. Find a therapy place for you and the kids, and have them help you explain to them that it's not safe to talk to dad at the moment. That way he won't try to get his revenge through them, and good for you. And you're right, him ending up homeless is not your concern. Greater than they are toddlers, so a bit too young to understand. Their daycare is aware as well. Commenter. Greater than I work in a daycare, and unless we have a restraining order on paper if the other parent shows up, we have to release their child to them. There's nothing we can do, and children are smarter than you give them credit for. Just because they can't say everything doesn't mean they don't notice everything. Commenter. Greater than I think something to note is to keep a close eye on your kids in their early 20s and teach them the signs. It could be hereditary, but with enough foreknowledge can be caught early and treated. EMCCM. Greater than I did dealt with something similar. Use this time to get the divorce started. Have a plan. When the 30-day hold is up, you will get immense pressure from doctors, social workers and family to take him back. Repeat variations. I do not feel safe with him on the home. I fear for my safety when he is around over and over. They will try to convince me he's fine, because they can't release him without somewhere to go. Greater than use this time to get legal advice. Use an attorney with experience with mentally ill spouses. Try and get a restraining order for you and the kids. Greater than I know you have a lot going on. You have to act. Your first time my ex was hospitalized, I listened and took him back. He was livid and blamed me for what happened to him. The second time he was hospitalized, I was lucky to walk away with my life. Act now. You have kids to think about. My boyfriend comes home injured every day, and he won't tell me why. Original post, July 21st, 2024. I 26, F live with my BF 23, M, and he's the llama. He's always been honest with me about everything, but recently I feel like he's hiding bad something from me, because for 2 months, every time he returns home after work he's bruised and injured. Not like a small injury, but really visible injuries like bruises, cuts on his abdomen, legs, bad injuries. The worst injury he had was 13 days ago. He came home at midnight and I was still awake doing some work, and his whole hair and face was messed up. He has a middle part, and it was like some of it was cut off, and he had bad swelling in his cheekbone area. He also had a black eye. When I saw him, I was trying to ask him what the fuck happened to him, and he just told me he didn't want to talk about it. I've tried to do anything to just get some information from him, but he refuses to give me any. He keeps telling me not to worry about it. I've told him I'd also go to the police to report what's happening to him, but he's pleaded me every time, do not, or else he'd break up with me. I'm so fucking worried for him, and I feel like I can't do anything. He hasn't done anything to deserve any of this, and I've been trying to come up with anything but I can't. He truly is a person who lives a simple life. The only reason I've come up with is that my BF is one of the few minorities in a very conservative city. But even then he has friends, connection, and so on. Relevant comments. Commenter, I bet he owes someone money. Greater than you. I really doubt that. He's never been the type of person to do something like that. And as far as I know he isn't in any type of serious debt. Commenter, well, then how the hell else is he getting so injured? Is he part of a fight club? What does he do for work? Greater than you, pediatric nursing. Commenter, it sounds like he's an immigrant, since you say his mom still lives in Vietnam. If he immigrated to the US illegally, it would explain why he doesn't want to go to the police and how he might owe money to bad people despite being a hardworking person who is not involved in shady stuff. This is sheer speculation, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know what to do about it, but maybe an immigration lawyer would help. Greater than Oop. He was born in the US. His mom just moved back to Vietnam with the rest of his family to take care of them. He told me he lived with his grandfather but he sadly passed away 2 years ago. Commenter, if you're close to his mom or brother divided by sister, tell them, maybe they'll help you out. To me it seems like he's gotten himself into bad business, and he's too ashamed to tell you about it. Greater than Noob, he's an only child. His mom is also really hard to communicate with. I don't blame her but she lives in Vietnam still, and she speaks basically no English. Going off of that I'm not sure she even knows what's going on in my BF's life living so far away. Update, Reddit, July 24, 2024. I asked my boyfriend yesterday about what was really going on, and I threatened to rope in my family, the police, and break up with him. I told him he was jeopardizing my own safety and he had to tell me. After a lot of stalling he eventually told me what it was. He's in a fight club. I guess the jokes were right. He's actually in a fight club like the movie. However, it's more complicated than just he's bored. He told me his family in Vietnam, specifically his mom, are pressuring him a lot to give them more and more money. They have told him that if he doesn't give them enough they'll cut contact with him. And even though we both have pretty good jobs, he was struggling to reach their demands and he didn't eat to ask me for money. He heard about the fight club from his friends, and at first he thought it wasn't any good. But he told me he was getting really stressed from his family situation, and getting hit would relieve some of it. And once he heard money was on the line, he decided to join it. That's the reason he refused to say anything about it, because like the movie he followed the first rule of Fight Club. That's also why he comes home sad. He's only using the Fight Club as a way to cope and earn some money on the side. That's also somewhat the reason he would plead me to not contact the police whenever I told him I would. Even though the actual Fight Club itself isn't illegal, a lot of illegal activities like drugs were being done in and of itself. I've talked to him about helping him with some money or therapy, but he told me he wants to deal with his issues himself. He told me he doesn't want me to stress myself out just to help him. For now I'll stay off, but I told him I'll be helping myself by helping him if he's in a bad situation. Relevant comments. Commenter, unless you're fine staying in a relationship with someone who is very likely to suffer from many concussions going forward, I recommend telling him to either cut off his family and stop fighting or leave him. Courtney is no joke, and I'm fairly certain these underground fights don't have paramedics on standby in case of an injury. He's going down a path that he will be lucky to walk away from, with massive lasting physical and mental damage, if he's lucky enough to walk away at all. Greater than noob. The worst thing is my BF doesn't have any type of my background. He doesn't really know what he's doing. Commenter, I know your BF wants to do this for his family in the name of tradition, but he shouldn't do it at the expense of his safety. To defy the laws of tradition is a crusade only of the brave. Greater than noob. I told him that too, and he said he'd try, but it's going to be a while, because he showed me just some of the payments he's giving to his family, and holy fuck, the amount he's giving could actually pay some of our bills. AITH for calling my wife selfish because she wants me to stop putting in money to a savings account for my sibling. My wife 26, F and I 27, M have been married for 2 years and together for 5. We are child-free. Ever since I got my first major job at 21, I have been contributing 15% of my paycheck to a savings account. I wanted to save up enough money to get a really nice functional prosthetic leg for my sister, who's an amputee and lost her leg when she was 16. She had been using wheelchairs, crutches, and a cosmetic leg. When my wife, then girlfriend, and I were serious about marriage, I told her that I had been contributing 15% of my paycheck to the savings account, and I would always do it the rest of my life. My girlfriend told me she had no issues with it, and I was really happy about it. I proposed shortly after, and we then got married. By last year, I had saved up enough money to buy the Autobox C leg for microprocessor knee, and also money for the physical therapy appointments. Basically, I didn't want my sister to spend a dime. I let my sister know, and she felt extremely guilty about me spending this much money, but I insisted on it, and to say that was money spent well is an understatement. My sister is now very comfortable walking, hiking, dancing, she goes on hikes, and it just makes me very happy. She's thanked me countless times over the past few months, and even cried many times. It's the least I could do. I've always felt guilty that my sister lost her leg and not me. My wife, however, has an issue that I'm still contributing to the savings account, even after buying my sister the prosthetic leg. I've reminded my wife multiple times that I would contribute to this account forever, as long as I'm getting a paycheck. The parts might need replacement every few years, or even the entire prosthetic knee. Me contributing to the savings account isn't affecting the quality of our life. Last night, my wife again brought up me contributing to the savings account, and that my sister was taking me for granted. When my wife said that, I lost my cool, and called her extremely selfish and pathetic, and then went and slept on the couch to cool myself down. I've never called my wife selfish, and I felt guilty about it this morning. When I woke my wife up this morning, after seeing me, she started crying and apologized for what she said last night. I too apologized for calling her selfish. Was I the ma for calling my wife selfish?